Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is our first lecture of thermodynamics. So, what is thermodynamics? Thermodynamics is basically the combination of two words, therm and dyna. Here the therm is basically termed as basically the heat, and dynam is basically related with the motion. So here there is heat and there is motion. So it is basically the science which deals with the heat and its transfer. The motion is basically the transfer of the heat. So it is basically the branch of science in which we deal with the heat, its transfer and the associated phenomena with these two. So the science of energy that is concerned with the ways in which the energy is stored within a body. So energy storage is basically again some kind of heat transfer. So the heat transformation mainly involves in the form of heat and work movement. There could be the movement of the heat, as you can see in this picture. There is a hotter body and there is a colder body, and there is basically the transfer of the heat from the hotter body to the colder body. Transfer of the heat may be involved in some kind of the work. We'll see in the next slide how the transformation of the heat will be in the form of some useful work. There is a fundamental law of the thermodynamics that is known as the law of conservation of the energy, or the energy conservation principle, which states that the energy cannot be created nor be destroyed, but it can be transferred from one form to another form. There are various forms of the energy, like you can have kinetic energy, you can have potential energy, you can have gravitational potential energy, and likewise heat. Heat is also a form of energy. It can be transferred by the difference of the temperature between two bodies or by the work. Next are basically the system, surroundings and the boundary. Here in this picture you can clearly see that a system is basically anything which is under observation. It could be any kind of mass of a quantity or a region or a space that is chosen for the study. So the system is basically anything that is under observation, and anything that is outside from the system, that thing is known as the surroundings of the system. They are also important when you will study a system. Its surroundings are very important and they have definite effects upon the system. And what is boundary? A boundary is basically a thin line that is separating the system from the surroundings. The boundary of the system could be a real boundary or could be an imaginary surface, like an imaginary. If the system that is under observation is small, it would have some definite kind of boundary. But the system which is under observation is large, then we'll have some kind of imaginary boundary for the system. The next is basically the types of the system. There are various types of the system. Some we'll study here. First of all, we'll have an isolated system. That system have been isolated. So in thermodynamics, when you will study the systems and its types, we'll discuss the two properties. First is the mass and second is the energy and how they are transferring. If a system is like such, there is no transfer of the mass across the boundary of the system, and again there is no transfer of the heat. Heat is in the form of energy, so we can see that there is no transfer of energy across the boundary of the system. That system is termed as an isolated system. An isolated system is basically an hypothetical system, or you can say that it's an idealized system, because you can fix the mass to not cross the boundary of the system, but to stop the transfer of the heat or the energy, you have to have a perfect insulator that can insulate the boundary of the system. till now we do not have any kind of perfect insulators. We have insulators that can reduce their transfer, but they cannot stop that by 100%. So any system would be termed as isolated system, would be approximately isolated system, not a definite system. Like if a coffee is well closed, it is isolated thermo bottle. Like we have thermostat bottles in our house, in which the coffee or the tea, it remains hot, but it remains hot for a certain interval of time. There would be transfer of energy across its boundary, but that transfer is slow. So we can say that these thermostat bottles are closely related with an isolated system. The next system is basically a closed system. So here is a piston cylinder example. A closed system is such in which there is no mass is flowing across the boundary of the system. Mass is fixed, but the energy can cross the boundary of the system. Like in a bottle, if there is a cold water is present and the quantity of mass is fixed, the cap is on. But after some time, the cold water inside becomes hot because there is a transfer of the energy or transfer of the heat. Earth can also be termed as a closed system, as the mass of earth is fixed and it is receiving the energy in the form of radiation or the solar energy from the sun. So there is a transfer of energy across the boundary of the earth. So we can see that, or we can say that the earth is basically also termed as a closed system. Also the piston cylinder, when there is a stroke inside the bore of the cylinder, the quantity of the fuel that is inside is fixed. Now the only thing that can change is basically the energy. So in a closed system, mass cannot flow across the boundary, but energy can. The next system is basically an open system. An open system is such in which both mass and energy can cross the boundary of the system. Like in our houses, common water geyser, there is a cold water that comes in and hot water that comes out. So the mass is continuously crossing the boundary. And again, the cold water is at the less temperature and the hot water is at the raised temperature. So the energy is also crossing the boundary of the system. But we can say that there is a fixed volume of our container. So the mass is coming in is equals to the mass coming out. So an open system can be termed as the control volume. We can here only controlling the volume, but the mass is also crossing the boundary and energy is also. Likewise, gas turbines and the steam turbines are also the examples of the open system, in which the fuel in the form of gas or in the form of steam comes in. It will hit with the blades of the turbine. Here you can see that an expanded area. The compressed air comes in, it will expand across the blades of the turbine and gives the useful work, and then it comes out. So mass is coming in, mass is coming out. Here it is at the compressed state, it will have some certain temperature value, and when it expands the temperature lowers. So again the energy is also crossing the boundary of the system, and as a result of that energy, we are basically having a useful work at our shaft. That work is utilized to basically move the machinery inside the industry. So this is basically the example. These two are the examples of our open system. Now the properties of the system. Properties of a system is basically a measurable characteristics of a system that is in the equilibrium. Any kind of a measurable characteristics like mass, volume, temperature, enthalpy, entropy, these are basically the properties of the system. So these are categorized into two. First one is known as the intensive properties and next are the extensive properties. Intensive properties are basically those properties of the system which are basically independent of mass. like temperature, pressure and density. If you have 1 kg of a material, like you can say that you have 1 kg of stainless steel, it has the temperature 50 degrees Celsius. You will cut that into 4 pieces and each piece would have the same value of the temperature. Like pressure, if you have certain pressure upon a system and you will reduce the area, the value of the pressure would be same like density. So these are the properties which are basically the independent upon of mass. Extensive properties are basically those which are directly related with the mass. Like mass, you can cut that mass into two halves. Like volume, if there is a total volume of a system is 50 kg, there is a cylinder of volume 50 kg. That cylinder of volume is equals to the two cylinders of 25 and 25 meter cubes. So the volume would be half, but the temperature remains same, pressure remains same and the density remains same as we have discussed. So above 2 are basically the extensive properties and below 3 are basically the intensive properties. So that's how the properties of the system are categorized. Next are basically the specific properties. These are basically, you can say that, the specialized properties. There is a property and we are making that property specific, and how we are making that, this is basically the definition. So the definition is basically the ratio of any extensive property. Which property is extensive? That is related with the mass. So any extensive property of a system that is divided by the mass is called the specific property. Like when you divide the volume by mass, it would become the specific volume and its units will change from meter cube to meter cube per kg as we are dividing that by mass. Likewise, the total energy is denoted by E, and when you divide it by M, it would become specific energy, and that is denoted by E. The units are joule per kg. Likewise, we have internal energy. So, a specific property is that when we divide a property with the mass, it would become the specific property. The next is zeroth law of thermodynamics. So the zeroth law of thermodynamics states that if two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with some third body, then they are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. How you can define that? Like there is a property A which is in thermal equilibrium with C, and there is a B body that is in equilibrium with C. So A is separately in thermal equilibrium with C and B is in thermal equilibrium with C. So according to the law of thermodynamics, we can say that both A and B are in thermal equilibrium with each other also. So the thermal equilibrium for the zeroth law of the thermodynamics says A, B and C are in thermal equilibrium. That is also known as the transitive property of the system. A has the temperature 50 degrees Celsius, C has the temperature 50 degrees Celsius, they are in thermal equilibrium with each other. B has the temperature that is again equals to the C, so A and B are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. First law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics is also known as the law of conservation of the energy, and it states that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can only be transferred or it can only be changed from one form to another form. That is basically the first law of thermodynamics. You can also define first law by this formula: delta U is equals to Q minus W. Here delta U is basically change in the internal energy, Q is equals to the heat added, and W is equals to the work done by the system. So here delta U is equals to Q minus W. If I'll change W or I'll shift W from this side to this side, so it would becomes Q is equals to delta U plus W. So we can define the first law as, if you supply heat to a body, that heat is used to do some kind of useful work, plus to raise the total heat content or to change the internal energy of the body. So again, the second definition for the first law is, heat supplied to the body is equals to the work done plus change in total energy. And we can also like this formula, we can also define first law, delta U is equals to Q minus W. So the change in internal energy is equals to the heat supplied minus work done. So these are basically the definitions of the first law, how you can define the first law of thermodynamics. Next are basically the state, equilibrium and the process. What is state? A state is basically the set of properties that describes the conditions of the system. And what are the set of these properties? Like mass, temperature, volume, pressure. Here is an example of piston cylinder. Here is the piston is in the middle position, where you have mass of 2 kg, temperature is 20 degrees Celsius, but it has a reduced volume of 1.5 meter cube. So at that interval of time, this is the state 1, that is some specific state of the system. But in the second form, or at the second state, you have expanded it. Now the piston is at the up top position and the volume is increased from 1.5 to 2.5. So a property of the system has been changed. Now you are describing that as state number 2. Sorry. So that is how you define the states of the system. The next is the equilibrium. When we talk about equilibrium in thermodynamics, we'll talk about the thermodynamic equilibrium. A thermodynamic equilibrium is basically an equilibrium that is basically in which we maintain the thermal equilibrium, mechanical equilibrium, phase and chemical equilibrium. When we talk about the thermal equilibrium, that is related with two bodies having the same value of the temperature. When we talk about the mechanical, it is the value of basically the work done that should be same. When we talk about the phase, there would be the equality of phases. Like at state 1 we have the gas state, at state 2 again we should have the gas state for the thermodynamic equilibrium. And in chemical equilibrium, that is related with the chemical reactions. Now the third one is basically the process. Here, as we have described earlier, there are two states of the system. As the piston has gone up, there is an expansion process. So we are changing from state number 1 to state number 2. So the change from one equilibrium state to another equilibrium state is known as the process. Here you can see that there is a PV diagram, that is pressure volume diagram. Upon y-axis you have pressure, upon x-axis you have volume, and below that there is a piston that has been compressed from state number 1 to state number 2, and the volume or the system inside it is reduced. So at state number 1 it would have a definite volume V1, and corresponding to that we have the value of the pressure P1. Similarly at point 2 we have the value of volume V2 and the volume of pressure is P2. So what we are doing, we are basically compressing. So this process is basically the compression process. We are going from initial state 1 to the final state 2, and by doing it we are basically compressing the gas. So from 1 to from 2 we are doing a process 1 2, and this arrowhead is basically denoting the path of the process. if the direction of basically this arrowhead is in the opposite direction, like this, so this would be expansion process. Will expand from 1 to 2. So we'll raise it. So that is how basically we'll define the process. When we are changing the state from 1 to 2 and moving from one state to another, we are doing a process, and the arrowhead will represent basically the path of the process. And here is the example. This is basically the compression process. In compression process, we have large value of the volume at 1, but the value of the pressure is less. As we are basically compressing, we are increasing the pressure, so the at final state the value of the pressure would be higher and the value of the volume would be reduced. Now the types of the processes. There are different types of thermodynamic processes, like we have isothermal process, isobaric process, isochoric process, isentropic process, and adiabatic process. We discuss these processes one by one. So the first is basically an isothermal process. So iso basically means same, and therm basically means heat, and heat is related with the temperature, so same temperature. So how you define the isothermal process? It is basically the process during which the temperature remains constant. The value of the temperature remains constant means the change in temperature is 0, or there is no change in the temperature. Here is the elaborated form. An isothermal process is a process in which the change of a system is such that the temperature remains constant, delta T equals to 0. This typically occurs when a system is in contact with an outside thermal bath, like there is a source of heat that is connected with the system, and the system is moving so slowly that it is allowing or finding the time to adjust itself to exchange the heat with the surroundings, such that the temperature of the system will remain constant. It is exchanging heat with the surroundings, but the temperature of the system is basically remaining constant. So the system is basically moving so slow. Here is a graph of temperature and volume. No matter how much the value of the volume is changing, the graph is straight. So at every value of the volume, change of volume with because of the heat, the value of the temperature is remaining constant. So when you see upon a TV diagram, when there is a straight horizontal line, the process would be isothermal process. The next is isobaric process. Again, iso means same, and baric is basically derived from the bar, and bar are basically the units of the pressure. So you can define isobaric process as a process in which the value of the pressure remains constant. It means the change in pressure delta P is 0. Here upon a PV graph you can see here there the initial state of the system upon which you have volume Vi, and there is a final state upon you have volume Vf, and that is basically change in volume. Upon Vi you have value of the pressure Pi, and upon Vf you have value of the pressure Pf, which is again equals to the Pi. So delta P is equals to Pf minus Pi, 1 minus 1 0. So change in pressure is 0. So again upon a PV graph, when you see a constant horizontal line, you can say that process is basically an isobaric process. There is change in volume, but there is no change in the pressure. The next is basically an isochoric process. An isochoric process is basically a process in which the volume remains constant. If the value of the volume remains constant, it means the change in volume delta V is 0. You can say that delta V is equals to V2 minus V1. Here in a PV graph, this is basically the value of V1 and this is the value of pressure P1. So this is point 2. Here you have P2 and this is again the value V2, which is basically equals to V1. So V2 is equals to V1 from here, and again that is V1. So delta V is equals to 0. So upon a PV diagram, when you will see a constant vertical line, it means that the process is basically an isochoric process. There is change in the value of the pressure, but there is no change in the value of the volume. The next is basically an adiabatic process. An adiabatic process is where a system exchanges no heat with the surroundings. No heat is supplied to the system. Q is equals to 0. But the temperature does changes. Delta T is not equal to 0. In an adiabatic process, no heat is supplied to the system, but the temperature of the system changes. How is that possible? You can see that if you have a piston cylinder example and there is a gas that is in the that have a certain value of volume, pressure and temperature. But when you apply a load upon the piston, here you have applied the load, the piston starts moving downwards. When it moves downward, it will compress the gas, reducing its volume, increasing its pressure and temperature. So there is a difference in the value of T2 minus T1. So you have changed the temperature of the system, but you have not supplied a heat at all inside the system. So that is an example of an adiabatic process in which there is no supply of the heat, but the temperature does changes. The next is basically an isentropic process. An isentropic process is where the entropy of a fluid remains constant. Entropy is basically S. Entropy is basically known as the disturbance of the system. How much disturbance is present inside the system. So S remains constant, it means delta S is equals to 0. There is no disturbance in the system. So isentropic process is basically an idealized thermodynamic process that is both adiabatic and reversible. You have studied adiabatic process in the previous slide. An adiabatic process is that process in which the temperature changes without supply of the heat. And reversible means it can be converted back to its initial form. Like you are compressing the gas and you can also go back with the same amount of the temperatures at the state 1 and the state 2. So an isentropic process is basically both adiabatic and reversible. The third thing is basically the work transfer of the systems are frictionless. In the system, we'll assume that during a work transfer, the value of the friction is 0. When a piston moves inside the cylinder, it rubs against its walls and it do have some kind of friction, but in isentropic process we'll assume that that transfer is frictionless. The value of the friction is zero and there is no transfer of heat or matter. We assume that no heat is supplied or no heat is exchanged with the surrounding. Such an idealized process is useful in engineering as model of basic comparison of real processes. So isentropic process is related with the cycles or the processes we'll discuss in the next lectures, like in diesel cycle, in Otto cycle, in Carnot cycle, in Rankine cycle, how isentropic processes helps for the modeling and comparison of these real processes with the idealized processes. So that is from the isentropic process. That is all from the today's lecture. Thank you so much for your attention, and inshallah we'll come back with the next lecture of thermodynamics. Thank you so much.